welcome to the Youth Forum podcast, a show designed to give youth a voice and to give an opportunity for people to share their views on important social issues. Today's topic, the arts in education. Integrating creative learning activities has been found by researchers at the Johns Hopkins University School of Education to make educational instruction more effective. Art teaches the importance of creativity for students, self-expression, and it has other benefits including the improvement of brain function, the relief of anxiety and stress, increases in self-esteem, and it helps to improve communication. The lack of funding and emphasis on arts is an issue seen across the world, not just regionally. For example, in England, the EBACC exam entries increased overall according to a 2019 Forbes article, but the entrances for arts-based exams have generally decreased. This includes the entries for drama exams decreasing by 18%, music exam entries decreasing by 16%, arts and design exam entries decreasing by 6%, and performing/expressive arts exam entries decreasing by 57%. In 2018, another example comes up with reports that were released regarding Ontario, Canada, that pointed to a lack of emphasis and equity shown towards arts programming, despite the knowledge of the importance of arts in education. A final example from articles released in 2022 discussing the emphasis placed on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math in American schools, which leaves the arts with a lack of funding and a lack of support. I'm here today with Sean, who is a very accomplished musician. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So I just want to start by asking you a couple of questions. So the first question I want to ask is what the main reason for your involvement in the arts has been?
Yeah, for sure. So the main reason for my involvement in the arts really is to tell stories and to inspire other artists and musicians like me to follow their dreams and really achieve them. There are just so many people around me that I'm inspired by, and there are so many people that I see every day, not only at the place I study, the Schulich School of Music, but also just in my everyday life, where they have all these big dreams, not just with music, but like with other places in the arts. And I just feel like they have to fulfill those dreams and really go after them. So, being an artist and being a musician, it's kind of just to show them that they can do it and inspire others.
For sure. And I really like that storytelling piece that you mentioned because I think that's something that everybody can relate to, right? Like just trying to share something that you experience with others and trying to find that common ground, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm. My next question is, how do you find that art benefits your life and your studies in general?
Oh, okay. So I find that art really benefits my life in terms of kind of being a cathartic experience. It's not really a cathartic experience, but maybe like a coping method. In terms of just allowing myself and my emotions to run free, if that makes sense. There's not many things that can do that aside from art, and especially as a musician, whenever I play a piece or whenever I sing a song, sometimes like it just allows me and my emotions to really go through everything instead of just hiding away. In terms of my studies, for practical reasons, it has really taught me the meaning of being dedicated to something. It's really taught me the value of hard work, of discipline, because practice is very hard to schedule sometimes, even if we have to do it every day. Um, and overall, it's given me a better idea of how important it is to manage my time and find my balance in life. So I guess that's how arts have helped me in terms of my life and studies.
That's amazing. Yeah. What benefits do you think the arts provide generally?
I think that in general with the arts, because a lot of it doesn't really involve language, like music, for example, music doesn't really involve language unless it's a vocal piece or visual art. most visual art doesn't really require language. It's something that can be shared with anyone, no matter their background, no matter their heritage and culture. It's something that can be shared with anyone, no matter what language they speak. And I think that universal experience is absolutely, irreplaceable. There's really nothing like it. It allows performers like me to tell stories like we brought up earlier. It allows us to tell stories and to really connect with audiences in a way that is truly unique. It's truly a unique experience. And overall, it's just an amazing display of humanity, I think, both visual art, music, literature, any sort of art and culture is an amazing display of the creativity of humanity. It's a great way to showcase, imagination and other things like that is, very central to our identity as human beings. So yeah, I feel like that's what it provides.
And all of the stuff that you just mentioned, I think, really adds to why it's important to integrate it into studies and other aspects of life from an early age with people, right? Like just
Mhm.
involving that cultural piece that music and other art brings. I mean, especially when you look at art from across the globe, right? Like it
Mhm.
really involves a lot of not only understanding about where that comes from and what people were thinking when they might have created that piece, but also just bringing people together to kind of experience those common emotions, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like in terms of art pieces or music pieces from different cultures or different places around the world, like it really offers insight onto, you know, what went into the writing of that piece, maybe the significance of that piece to a certain culture or a certain location. So, hearing those ideas gets me really excited. And
Mhm.
so, um, yeah, I think that's another amazing thing that art and music can do.
Mhm. And I guess my last question is, do you have any final thoughts on the importance of involving arts in education across the board?
Um, I feel like most schools kind of underestimate the power of art, which, you know it as well as I know it, that there are a lot of schools that kind of, um, you know, they make an effort, but they don't really make as much of an effort as a lot of us would like to see. Um, there's a community of artists and musicians at every school. There's a lot of people that take music lessons outside of school. There's a lot of people that, take up art or drawing, even just like as a hobby. And there's a lot of potential within a school student body when it comes to the arts and when it comes to music and when it comes to really anything related to culture. There's a lot of potential there. And so, one of my hopes as a musician, as someone who is wanting to do a career in music, is that more and more educational institutions will recognize the power that music and art have, the benefits that music and art have, not only for education, but also in terms of just like in terms of our own individual benefits and our own exposure to different arts from different cultures or different stories from different cultures, just all these wonderful things that can happen when you expose someone to art and music. My hope is that more educational institutions and schools will recognize that and truly make their music and arts programs reflect that sort of power and make sure that their programs will be as beneficial to their students as possible.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of what you've said today, like, really involves that discussion of STEM versus STEAM. Like, where do the arts
Mhm.
fit in with science, math, technology, and engineering? Like, where do the arts fit in there, right? And I think a
Mhm.
lot of what you've said really shows like that creativity piece as well as just that critical thinking element in a different way than what's generally looked at from the sciences and that side of education. Like
Mhm.
incorporating the arts into it is really important. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you again for having me. This was lots of fun. This was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. So I'm also here with Micah, who is a fabulous musician and actress. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to start by just asking you some questions. So, my first question is, what is the main reason for your involvement in the arts?
Okay. Well, to be honest, it started because my parents really pushed me into it, and my family is a very creative family, so I gravitated towards it because that's what I was surrounded with growing up. But I choose to remain in the arts because it's something that allows me to be creative and it makes me happy, and it's a form of self-expression in a world that's very math and science focused. So it's nice to have a coping mechanism and a place where I can use my emotions for good.
Absolutely. And I think like what you said there about the math and science focus is found in schools, right? Like there is not enough focus on the arts in schools. So, my next question is, how do you find art benefits your life as well as your school life?
Something interesting about, so I play piano, so something interesting about my piano teacher is she always focuses on the fact that piano helps you in school, which is odd. But if you think about it in hindsight, in terms of learning an instrument, it kind of makes sense because you learn discipline and you build healthy habits. I practice almost every single day for about an hour. And it's the same with any other instrument or any other musical aspect where you are consistently working. You develop a work ethic and a work life balance because you balance your school things with your passion for this other instrument. So that's definitely how it helps my studies. It has given me a cycle that I'm very used to, and I feel like it's difficult to build that if you don't start it at a young age. And in terms of benefiting my life, I talked about this earlier, but arts is a coping mechanism for me outside of just uh, being things I like doing. But I use the arts to cope with my own emotions, and we're teenagers. We have a lot to deal with, and there's a lot of school things, and the world went through a pandemic, and there's just a lot at a time. And it's a lot easier when you have a place to put those emotions and utilize them for good things, because there are a lot of moments when emotions lead us to do bad things.
For sure. It gives you like an outlet, right? Like it's
Yeah.
somewhere to put all of the stuff that you don't want to deal with elsewhere, right?
Hmm.
And then my final question is, what benefits do you think the arts provide just generally?
Okay, so we talked about how it helps with studies. We talked about how it helped me. Um, I think the arts, it's what makes us human. Humanities and arts, they go hand in hand, and I did bring up science and math, but I feel like if we had to tell a robot apart from a person and we had perfect technology, it would be something creative that sets us apart because it is the arts and poetry and music and creative writing and dance where you see the human side of us. We can do math, we can do science, we can learn as good as a computer can, but I'm not sure if a computer can create something that is something a human can create. So um, it allows us to be creative. The arts allows us to be creative and allows us to express ourselves. And also, it's kind of what sets us apart from any other thing. It's what makes us human because it's our emotions and it's our work and it's our hands that craft the things that are in front of us. So I'm not sure if that's a benefit. I think it's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.